very long ago today, and I tested negative. Who remembers Dr. Milton Scharf, who was our pediatrician when we moved here? And Dr. Scharf would say Max would come in with ears hurting, and he would look in Max's ears and he'd say, I give you a 20-minute guarantee that it's not an ear infection, or I give you a 40-minute guarantee that it's not an ear infection, because you can't promise that if you don't have it right now, you're not going to have it the next day. And that's one of the complications we've seen with this, is that people feel confident and then they go out and do things that they probably shouldn't have done, and they either get it or they transmit it. So the vaccine is helping. I haven't been vocal about these things before, but we've seen the numbers in Louisiana. 90% of the people who have tested positive are not vaccinated. 91% of the people in hospitals right now, 91% of the people in hospitals right now are not vaccinated. And we have over 2,900 people in hospitals in Louisiana right now, and 91% of them are not vaccinated. This one stresses me a little more. 83% of the people who die of COVID just this week are not vaccinated. And the part that stresses me is that that means 17% of the people who died are vaccinated, which doesn't mean vaccines don't work. It means that we'd have to look at what the rest of the details are. You were 93 years old and you had underlying conditions and things like that, and we know that that's what most of them are. But it's showing that it's working. So we're trying to stay safe, and I care about you. So please stay safe. So I started all of that because I wanted to tell you a cute story, not a depressing story, not a scary story. I've been tired of, it's hard to be scared all the time, and it's Shabbat. So I tell you all the time to leave your worries out the door. That's the worry I want to leave out our door right now. So everybody spread out in here. We don't have very many people here. I hope that there are more people watching online where you're safe, and maybe even in your pajamas, I don't know. But the sweet story is that we do sometimes do curbside pickup for meals. And so I got a meal this week that the place where we went wrote on the cover of the to-go box sweet things like enjoy or remember or keep on. And so mine said, keep on breathing. And I said, how perfect is that? Because obviously it's the point of not getting this horrible illness, but it's the point of Shabbat, is that we're breathing. And the more I've thought about it, the more I love the fact that, as I've told you before, I like to sometimes see, and you can't do this all the time because then you'd stop living. If all you think about is your breathing, you stop living. You're just concentrating on your breath. But for the few moments when you get to stop and think about your breathing, and you're blessed with being able to breathe, think about the fact that you exhale the toxins from your body, and God takes them away. And you inhale what God has to give you, and you hold it in, and then you give back, and God takes away the toxins. My son, Ron, said that there's a meditation technique that he was taught that says that you should try to think about that moment when you're breathing, when inhale turns into exhale. That moment when inhale and when exhale turns into inhale. And I have to admit that sometimes when I do that, I can't breathe at all because I'm concentrating too hard on breathing. But I'm trying to figure out ways of letting me realize how valuable this is to breathe. And my message this week was keep on breathing. So I give you that for Shabbat. Having said that, we take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Try again. Let it out slowly. And we are going to be turning to page 82 in Service 3. If you're watching it online, click on the Service 3 and you'll jump right to page 82. Please rise if it's comfortable for you to stand and sit. at these candles. You know what's cool about these candles? Nothing. No, I'm kidding. They're beautiful. That's what's cool about them. But when we finish this blessing, we turn them into Shabbat candles. That is cool. So we say, these lights are only flickering flames, yet flames illumine our uncertain steps. Flames remind us of Sabbaths long past and of their beauty that delighted our hearts. May they inspire us to work for the great Sabbath of peace. I'm going to do it in Hebrew. You could do it in English if you want. B'chi b'shemoy, b'chi b'shemoy, b'chi b'shemoy. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. And you open your eyes, and now they're Shabbat candles. We will continue with a song that, please be seated. Say Shabbat Shalom to someone you came in with, someone you didn't come in with. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. I want to sing a song with you that's not going to be on this page. We're going to sing a song because it's Friday the 13th. So what is Friday the 13th supposed to be? 13 is supposed to be unlucky. So I want to sing the song about luck. Do you know any songs about luck? Luck be a lady? Yeah, how about Hebrew ones? We could do that one in Hebrew if we need to. But the one that we do, that we know. So a siman tov means a good sign. And mazel tov, mazel is fortune. Mazel tov means in good fortune. So the song siman tov or mazel tov means good signs and good fortunes, because that's what we're looking for. Maybe especially for people who think that Friday the 13th is a bad luck day, we're looking for which means good signs and good fortune will be for us.
All the words, and it's actually Yiddish pronunciations and not, or Ashkenazic pronunciations and not the modern Hebrew pronunciations, but we know it anyway. Siman tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov v'siman tov, siman tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov v'siman tov, siman tov u'mazel tov u'mazel tov v'siman tov yihelanu. And then we say yihelanu, yihelanu. It will be for us. U'lechol Yisrael, for us and all of Israel. Yihelanu, yihelanu. U'lechol Yisrael, Yehelanu, Yehelanu, U'lechol Yisrael, Yehelanu, Yehelanu, U'lechol Yisrael. May we see only good signs in our future. We're going to go from that to page 85. Yitgadal v'yitkadash merabah, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ומרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ומרו אמן. The middle of page 86. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
And speaking of looking for signs, oh God, how can we know you? Where can we find you? You are as close to us as breathing, yet you are farther than the farthermost star. You are as mysterious as the vast solitudes of the night, yet as familiar to us as the light of the sun. To Moses you said, "You cannot see my face, but I will make all my goodness pass before you." Even so does your goodness pass before us in the realm of nature and in the joys and sorrows of life.
When justice burns within us like a flaming fire, when love evokes willing sacrifice from us, when to the last full measure of selfless devotion, we demonstrate our belief in the ultimate triumph of truth and righteousness, then your goodness enters our lives, and we can begin to change the world. And then you live within our hearts, and we through righteousness behold your presence. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed.
You may be seated. We're going to read this one in English today, bottom of page 88. You shall love your eternal God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your being.
Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be symbols before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them. So shall you consecrate yourselves to your God. I am your eternal God, who led you out of Egypt to be your God. I am your eternal God.
I, the Eternal One, have called you to righteousness and taken you by the hand and kept you. I have made you a covenant people, a light to the nations.
We are Israel, witness to the covenant between God and God's children.
This is the covenant I make with Israel. I will place my Torah in your midst and write it upon your hearts. I will be your God, and you shall be my people.
We are Israel. Our Torah forbids the worship of race or nation, possessions or power.
You who worship gods that cannot save you, hear the words of the Eternal One. I am God, there is none else.
We are Israel. Our prophets proclaimed an exalted vision for the world.
Hate evil and love what is good. Let justice well up as waters and righteousness as a mighty stream.
We are Israel, schooled in the suffering of the oppressed.
You shall not oppress your neighbors nor rob them. You shall not stand idle while your neighbor bleeds.
We are Israel, taught to beat swords into plowshares, commanded to pursue peace.
I think we've been doing a lot of not standing idle while our neighbor bleeds, but I don't know that I've been doing a lot of beating swords into plowshares. I don't know that I have. We're in the month of Elul. We're supposed to be thinking about who we are, who we've been, and who we can be. And I'm feeling like I haven't been beating enough swords into plowshares lately. Violence, which you know here is written as Hamas, shall no longer be heard in your land. Desolation and destruction within your borders. All your children will be taught of your God, and great shall be the peace of your children.
We are Israel, O God, when we are witnesses to your love and messengers of your truth.
You are my witnesses, says the Eternal One, and my servant whom I have chosen. Know me, therefore, and put your trust in me.
We are Israel, O God, when we proclaim you God, our Redeemer, as did our ancestors on the shores of the Red Sea. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ledava nefesh, nora tehilo dosefele, nora tehilo dosefele. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la.
Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. We praise you, O God, Redeemer of Israel. Page 92. May we lie down this night in peace and rise up to life renewed. O God, spread over us your shelter of peace, of quiet and calm, and bless us with rest. And let a time come when morning will bring no word of war or famine or anguish, a time of happiness, of contentment and rest. We give thanks for the night and its rest and the promise of peace for all the world. We're going to read this next one in English. The people, you can read with me please. The people of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, observing the Sabbath in every generation as a covenant for all time. It is a sign forever between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days the Eternal One made heaven and earth, but on the seventh day God rested and was refreshed. Refreshed, vayinafash. Nefesh is soul, and it comes from the same word as breathing. I think about that. And I'm jealous for anybody who is singing that in their heads and online. I'm jealous for you to be singing. We're trying to keep some singing, I'm sad to say, to a minimum. My singing, because we're in a room where we're all breathing the air. And that's a spreader. And I'd have to put my mask on again to breathe and sing at the same time. But on page 93, I ask you to please rise. And we will chant this one. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, ve'Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Koneh Hakol, ve'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. In the middle of page 94. God of all generations, of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, of Sarah, Rebekah, Leah, and Rachel, be praised. Your wondrous creative power fills heaven and earth.
God of life and death, be praised. Through us and help to the falling, healing to the sick, freedom to the captive. Confirm your faithfulness to those who sleep in the dust.
Awesome and holy God, be praised. With acts of love and truth, we hallow your name. As it is said, all y'all be holy, for I, your eternal God, am holy.
God of times and seasons, be praised. Enable us through Sabbath rest to explore and learn and impart the meanings of your Torah. Make our hearts ready to serve you this day and all days.
You may be seated. You know who's been to camp or has had kids who've gone to camp, because when they sing Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, I saw some people just rocking it instead. I saw some people bouncing it. You know who's been to camp because of that. You should watch. It's really fun. I like watching that. And you see there are some kids who will go, did anybody see that? Am I supposed to do that? Yeah, it was good. The top of page 96, we continue. God who answers prayer, be praised. May we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer, wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands. You are our God.
Source of life and its wonders, be praised. You are the miracle within all we behold. You are goodness, you are compassion. We give thanks to you forever.
God of peace, of justice, and of love, be praised. Inspire us to banish forever war, hatred, and bloodshed. Help us to establish forever one human family united in peace. God of peace, bless us with peace.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lekol hashalom. Shalom, Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'kol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Take a moment of silent meditation. Listen to your breath. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. Our hearts and our prayers turn to those who are ill or recuperating as we turn to the inside back cover for our prayers, at which point I am inviting anyone to call out names of people for whom you know we need some healing. I'm going to start by saying, as I had been on the online version, but I forgot to write this down in here. Our hearts and prayers turn to those who are ill, recuperating, dealing with the consequences of COVID-19 or confinement, coping with disasters, or the recent death of loved ones. If you have names you want us to call, you not want us to be saying prayers for, please call them out. For all these names, for the names we choose to hold in our hearts and not say out loud, we pray together. Oh God, in our hearts we name those who are facing illness and pain. We join our prayers with the prayers of all who love them. Give them renewed comfort and courage. Strengthen in them the healing powers you have placed within us all. Guide the hands and hearts of those who are entrusted with their care. May the knowledge of your love and ours give added hope to them and to their dear ones. May they find even greater strength because our prayers are linked to theirs. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. We praise you, eternal God, the source of healing and health. And it has become our tradition to add, on behalf of our military, police, firefighters, EMT, doctors, nurses, and veterans. Misheberach avotenu ve'imotenu, may the one who blessed and protected our ancestors guard all those whom we've entrusted with the responsibility of defending our freedom, protecting us, healing us in this country, in the land of Israel, and everywhere they've been called to serve. Give them courage to succeed and strength to persevere. May they return home safely, and let us say, Amen. So I have a few tidbits for you about Friday the 13th. Some of them you probably know because you've been around long enough to have a clue about this. Did you know how many times we see a Friday the 13th in a year? Doesn't it feel like, it feels like not many, but it turns out we have the right answers about 3 times a year. The 13th of the month obviously falls on a Friday. Are you superstitious? Then Friday the 13th is a day you might look to with fear. I knew a lot of people would dread Friday the 13th. I don't know why, but there are, throughout history, there have been reasons why people have dreaded 13. Historically, this is weird, and perhaps oddly in today's world, Friday has been viewed as an unlucky day of the week. Could you picture Friday being your least favorite day of the week? Anybody? Anybody? Nope. So I don't know. In days gone by, when you put the unlucky day of Friday together with the unlucky number 13, many people believe only bad things can happen. Interestingly, there's a sizable number of optimists who embrace Friday the 13th and the number 13. So they'll go buy lottery tickets with the number. I'm not telling you should do this. I'm just saying people will do that. So here's some trivia. You probably know these. Many buildings and skyscrapers do not have a 13th floor. Does that mean they don't have a 13th floor? Don't live on the 14th floor. That's all. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just saying. There are some people who will not allow 13 people at a table. If there are 13 people, they put up another table and you get to sit at the kids' table, I guess. I don't know. Skippers would not go out to sea with a crew of 12, because including the captain, it's 13. Ancient Mayans of Central America were the most advanced culture in all of the Americas, and they considered the number 13 sacred. Unlike any other special or wacky day, you're encouraged to fully embrace this day, have some fun with it. But don't cower in your room in fear of this day. You'd miss out all the fun and the excitement. So here's some cool stuff that I got. And I'm giving Mark Kaplan, credit for finding a lot of these details for me. When he sent this to me this morning, I said, ooh, I know what my sermon is going to be. But he found some of these things. In biblical references, it's believed that Cain killed Abel on Friday the 13th. It was the Hallmark calendars back then. I have no idea how they knew that. I have no idea. But they do know that in ancient Babylonian, the Code of Hammurabi, they omitted the number 13 in their list of laws. All the way back then. It was 1700 before the Common Era. The ancient Babylonians obviously thought it was unlucky too. So those are some unlucky things about Friday the 13th. But how does Judaism see the number 13? Can you think of anything that's 13 that's bad or good? Bar mitzvah. So in Judaism, we have not ever held that superstition to be a bad thing. We think that it's lucky or blessed or spiritually significant. I'm going to tell you some things that you may or may not remember after today, but maybe I'll tell you again next time we have a Friday the 13th. Abraham entered into 13 covenants with God when he did, for those of you who are squeamish, don't listen to this next part, when he did the commandment, which some people refer to as the commandment of bris milah. You know what a bris milah is, right? It says that they got that from the fact that the word bris or brit is repeated 13 times in the passages where God commands Abraham to perform the bris on himself and his children. According to a long-standing Jewish tradition, we know a boy becomes bar mitzvah at 13, and it's been since at least 1960s where we have counted, the Reform movement has not only counted women as adults at 13, but we have done services also. There are 13 rules of logic and textual analysis, otherwise known as hermeneutic principles, by means of which the written Torah is expounded as taught by the great Mishnaic scholar Rabbi Yishmael, who received his oral tradition directly from Moses at Sinai. That's what they say. The Mishnah teaches that in the Holy Temple in Jerusalem there were 13 shofrot, which are shofar-shaped tzedakah boxes or tzedakah chests, 13 tables, which had certain kinds of offerings on them, and 13 prostrations as part of the temple service. Judaism has 13 principles of faith, which were first formulated by Maimonides in his commentary to Mishnah, and which have achieved virtually universal acceptance. There is a tradition that, so gematria, if you look at gematria, which is when you take the word and you add up the number that the letter represents. So you know chai, for example. The chet is 8 and the yud is 10, and the word chai means life, so we say that 18 is a significant number. So 13, though, if you add up the letters in the word for ahava, which means love, and the word echad, which means one, those both equal 13. And there are other things that exist as well, including the 13 attributes of God, which we will be reading a lot during the High Holy Days. So that's fun. But you know what else it is today? Other than Left-Handers Day and Prosecco Day and Filet Mignon Day, you know what else it is today? This one really got my attention. National Blame Someone Else Day. Really? It's always the first Friday the 13th of the year. The way to celebrate, guess how? But please don't do that. Blame someone for something else. Try to make it something fun. Mark suggests, Cappy suggests. Blame Someone Else Day? No. So we're in the middle of the month of Elul right now, and I'm hoping that no one is going out of their way of blaming other people. We're supposed to specifically be thinking about the opposite of that. We're specifically supposed to be thinking about all the things that we made bad choices about, and ways that we can fix them. But Kathy's going to tell us something about all the things that we're doing right at B'nai Zion, and all the ways that we can take advantage of them in a good way. And if there are mistakes in it, I will take all the blame. You don't have to blame anybody else. I'll take the blame.
Good evening, Shabbat Shalom. Rabbi Jana has an Oneg Shabbat scheduled tonight on Zoom. It will begin about 30 minutes after the service ends. Check the website for details about how to join. From 9 to 9:30 tomorrow morning, Jana will be on Zoom only for Kiddush Shabbat, a family-friendly, fun way for families to celebrate Shabbat. Again, check the website for details about how to join. We hope to go back to in-person again soon, but this month we will stay on Zoom only. Torah study, which is at 9:45, and Shabbat morning service, which begins at 11, will also not be in person tomorrow. The Zoom information is on the website. If you want to include your names in this year's memorial book, the deadline is August 23rd. The form is available, guess where? The B'nai Zion website to fill out online or print out to get to the office. Rosh Hashanah evening is Monday, September 6th. We are watching the COVID situation closely to determine how to safely have services at both B'nai Zion and online. There are many programs, including guest speakers about Israel, registration information about next year's Israel trip, and much more happening thanks to the North Louisiana Jewish Federation. Check out their website for more details. That's jewishnla.org. We have a number of congregants who have tested positive for COVID-19 recently. Most have been vaccinated. Everyone is recuperating. Please make safe choices that protect you and those around you. Donations were made to B'nai Zion Sisterhood Flower Fund in loving memory of Pauline Muroff by Ruthie Neerman and family, in loving memory of Sarah Nelbert by Roseanne and Bob Fry, and in loving memory of Aaron Selber Jr. by Patty, Penny, Polly, and Pam. Shabbat Shalom. Stay safe.
Shabbat Shalom. You can stay up here if you want and help me, but I wanted to tell you that two of the things that we didn't mention, there's this awesome concert that's coming up in September by the Jerusalem Youth Choir, Muslims, Christians, and Jews singing together, teens. It's an amazing thing. That's coming up in September. Watch for that through the Federation. And then they're planning, we are hoping we're going to be able to do a bus trip to New Orleans, stay overnight, have dinner, bus trip, stay overnight, so that we can go see the new Museum of Southern Jewish Experience together as a community with the communities in Alexandria and Monroe. So watch for that. We are hoping that we're going to be able to do that in October. Those are things that are happening. Watch the Federation page, and we'll keep telling you about it too. Meanwhile, please turn to page 148 and rise as the ark is open.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adom hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
And on the facing page we're going to sing in Hebrew.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
When the ark is closed, you may be seated. So if you're looking on page 149 and you're looking at the words in the middle of the page, and you see we say echad twice in that last sentence, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, you can see how it adds up to 13. Aleph is 1, Chet we already said is 8, and Dalet is 4. So that's how we get echad adds up to 13. Pretty cool. I like those things. I don't know how they find eternal truths of the universe that way, but I still think they're fun. We continue on page 151. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. We acknowledge that there are people who are first responders who have died because they have run into dangerous situations for our sake. We've lost 5 people in our military. We've lost 199 police officers since the beginning of January. 97 of those are COVID-related. 4 losses were from Louisiana. We've lost 12 canine officers. We've lost 66 firefighters. 22 are COVID-related. We've lost 1 firefighter in Louisiana. And I told you already some of those other numbers. We've lost over 4,340,000 people in the world to COVID. So I am praying that we're all doing what we have to not let anyone else die. As we remember them, let us meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. We're going to turn to page 153. Life is finite, like a candle. It burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. Then it fades. Its substance is consumed and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our lives are full, but as night follows day, The candle of our life burns down in gutters. There's an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives, we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. However brief may be our time on earth, O God, you endow our fleeting days with abiding worth. We now recall the loved ones whom death has taken from us this past 30 days. We remember Anne-Marie Ain. And we remember congregants' parents who died the past year. We remember Sophie Lipo, Robert Talbert, Joseph Paris, Artis Robison, George Rothkopf, Henry Brenner, Ron Riley, Fred Phillips. And as we remember those who died at the season in years past, we take them into our hearts with our own. Those for whom we're observing yortzites this past week include Ham Benson, Isidore Bluestein, Louis Childs Jr., Ben Goldstein, Gerald Keston, Bertha Klein, Maurice Earl Kreisman, Samuel Levy, Selma Mittenthal, Pauline Murov, Sarah Nelbert, Nancy Blanchard, Charles Jack Schulwolf, Aaron Selber Jr., Morton L. Simon, Francis Spetter, John Whittington, Myers Wick. In this moment of memory, our griefs and sympathies are mingled. Loving God, we rise as together we praise your name. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayei chon u'v'yomei chon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shemei Rabbah mevarach la'alam ul'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha brichu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shalama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. You may be seated. I'm going to do this a little bit out of order. We'll do an Ein Kelohenu as a closing. Since Adam has a mask on, I'm going to let him do a closing song. I'm going to do a closing benediction first. So it's okay if you're sitting down for that. We're used to that already. Everybody who's on Zoom gets to do closing benedictions most of the time while they're seated. Because you know what happens when you're on Zoom and you stand up? All the faces turns into this. It is not pretty. I'm just saying. So we stay seated a lot more often during the services on Zoom than we do most of the time. But I want you to look around. I want you to help me bless each other, because it's a blessing for us to be here together and help. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you. May God protect you. Yair Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May the light of God's face, can you feel it? Shine upon you. Be gracious to you. Shining, shining, shining. It feels so tingly, doesn't it? Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God's face be lifted up to you. May God grant you peace. Peace. Shabbat shalom. We turn to page, I think it's 159. Is that where we are for the words to the quintessential, whoops, I went the wrong way. The quintessential closing song. And you may not have all of these if you're watching online. Ein Kelohenu, there is none like our God.
Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kamalkenu, Ein Kamoshienu, Mi Kelohenu, Mi Kadonenu, Mi Kamalkenu, Mi Kamoshienu.
Let's give thanks.
No de la no de nu, no de la do ne. Atahu Makenu, Atahu Moshienu.
May your travels always be peaceful and safe. Please stay safe out there. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I'll see everybody in about half an hour. If you join us on Zoom, you get to see all kinds of cool people from all around the country.